Brian, at 3:15.
Everyone plays along.
Well, we might have a few stragglers, but we're going to go ahead and start. First of all, I see so many familiar faces out here that this feels rather intimate. So if you have questions, this is kind of like a coffee table discussion. I do have some questions prepared, but if anyone has questions they'd like to ask, just raise your hand, be orderly, get in the British queue. Learned all about this last week, British queues. It was a new experience. And Maxine will, answer the question. So we're going to have, today's conversation is going to be about magic and magical training. I believe the title is Where's All the Magic Gone? Maxine Sanders has been in the witchcraft movement since the 60s, and she's very knowledgeable, and it's a great honor to have her here speaking to us. For anyone, whether they're Alexandrian or not, it's actually a huge opportunity to even be able to get to hear her speak. So Maxine, I think I'd like to start by just asking you, how did you get involved in witchcraft?
Quite easily. Weren't many about. My family knew a witch. But it wasn't like that actually. When I was born, a man called Alexander's, a good friend of my mother's, he used to babysit me. 13 years later, he came back into our lives, and I thought he was toothless, balding, and bandy is what I call it. And I didn't approve at all. I thought it was a dreadful thing, and he even found the Catholic priest up to report my mother, and he said, "Oh, your mother reads the News of the World," which is a banned paper by the Catholic Church, or was. She'll get over it. And of course, I didn't get over it. I sat in with my mother and all the guests and listened to this man, who was a very humble man, and I'd say spiritual at that time, deeply spiritual. And he had an aura that made you want to feel better, made you want to be a better person. And when he spoke, you had to listen, and you always learned something. Come for tea most Sunday afternoons, and my mother would do a big spread and invite all her important friends. And they couldn't eat anything because they were in Alex's presence. Oh, she used to get so cross, and quite rightly so too. So yes, it was from there that I went forward for initiation. What else can I tell you about it? There's a lot of fun, very frightening, some things. You've got to remember this was in the 60s, and Hammer House of Horror were having a great time, and I was entering it. I didn't know, but I knew that I trusted absolutely the people that I'd met at the Covenstead. And there's a common expression in the craft, it feels like coming home. Well, I was home before I was initiated. And from there, I never want to leave home. Never even been tempted to leave home. The circle is my home.
So today's class, we're really focusing on magic. So I wanted to ask you, what were the first magical things you learned when you entered into initiation and became a witch? What were some of the first things you learned, and what would be some of the first things that you would teach to a new witch?
Drinking wine. But before I could drink it had to be consecrated. And usually the first act of the new initiate is the consecration of the wine. And there's a sense after the initiation of power, an energy you've not experienced before. And if you're privileged enough and have a nice enough coven that you join, they will ask you to consecrate the wine. And that's the first act of magic that you learn. And then you have a lot of fun drinking it, especially Alexandrians. What else do you want to know? More magic. Well, you have to learn the ways of magic. There are 8 ways of magic. There's some more preferable than others. I don't know what my first act of magic was, working with a group. Because I suspect it was raising the power through dance. And we always had very busy, even though the craft wasn't public then, people didn't know about it. They all knew where the witch was, they all knew which door to knock on. Everybody in Manchester knew the telephone number. And so there was never any shortage of doing the witch's work. And that was magic. And we used to work in a place called Alderley Edge. And I remember that one Halloween, the press had been at it again, ban these evil people. And we were up there, and innocents to the lambs, we suddenly realised the presence of many. And sometimes you're not really sure what the many are, especially when you're working on Alderley Edge, because you have the wonderful elementals there that are quite powerful. And one side of the edge is light, and the other side is, don't go there, it really is dangerous. But we were aware of this presence, and I suddenly said, those of you who wish us to work magic, come into our circle. Do you know, over 500 people were taken into that circle and out again, but each one was danced with to work their magic. We got 500 letters saying that the magic had worked. And it was one of those occasions when there was no press there, which was a blessing. So you can ask me what kind of magic I first learned. So I suppose it was kindness, hospitality, and generosity. Generosity of our vocation, our magical work. And we do get asked to do some really, really sad workings. Not just getting a lover, not just making a fortune, but we work with the sick, we work with the dying, and we love every minute of it. I have there's a thing that a lot of priestesses and priests say. They say, being a high priestess is such hard work. Well, they shouldn't bloody well be in the craft if it's hard work for them. They should be there, loving it and enjoying it, not complaining about it. I noticed that the title of it is, Where's the Magic Gone? Well, somebody this morning said to me, and what are you going to talk about this afternoon? I said, I'm not going to talk about anything. They're going to ask me questions. And he, very, very wise man, said to me, well, there is a simple answer as to where the magic's gone. And it is, all the power that ever was, or will be, is here now.
One of the questions here, however, goes along with what we're talking about, was how does magic form a fundamental component of the spiritual work of the witch?
Alexandrian witchcraft, we worship the god and the goddess. And there are rituals created to lift the consciousness to such a degree as we're worshipping the god and goddess, that we say, out of the worship comes the magic. Actually, it's the psychology of the ritual that gets us in the right frame of mind and that right sense of being. It's no good saying, well, I'm going to work magic now, get in a circle, dance, worship. And if it's not there, if you've not raised that power, don't work magic. You wait for it to come, you wait for the next time. Don't ever work empty ritual. And I'm afraid there's a lot of empty ritual in the craft today. Every action within a magic circle is designed, done properly, to make the working of magic successful, powerful. Having said that, it's not always working. It doesn't always work. We have failures, big ones, very disappointing. And you know you can't go back to it until you've lost that negativity of that point of working for a particular purpose. Other times, you've barely got to lift a wand and it's worked. You know, the energy's there. But if the ritual is done in the proper preparation, there's no reason for that magic not to work unless you're unwell, shouldn't be in there, thinking about other things, haven't done your purifications properly. Well, you get your failures, and we all do.
One of the things that has been of great debate on the interwebs of late has been about the threefold law and karma, and it sort of seems as if in some witchcraft movements it's being tossed to the wayside. In your experience, how do you feel about karma or the threefold law?
It depends whether I've been good or bad, really. I think, you know, you can put it down to some great outer spiritual force, or you can just put it down to practicalities of life. Live a good life, be nice, be kind, be generous, heal. Well, fine. But apart from that, always be a little bit wicked too. You know, it doesn't. Wicked in the dictionary means wholesome, and it would be nice if we had some more wicked witches. Not that I'm thinking about anybody in particular. It's about the threefold return, and it's also about control. Now, if you look at religion generally, it is about control. Control the people. You know, there was Buddha one day sat contemplating on his navel, and, you know, he had to tell the people to do something because they were hungry. You know, what better thing to do than make them meditate? Control. Very healthy control. However, religion, like Christianity, witchcraft, we're all prone to it. Alexandrians become very aware of control. For instance, the scourging, when I was first initiated, we were suddenly inundated, I'm getting to your point, inundated with people, and they wanted bashing, you know, I don't know how to say this. So Alex changed the leather thongs on the scourge to silk. So that quite quickly got rid of them, you know, it wasn't very satisfying. But, and the same, you know, people think about witchcraft and orgies. Well, the sacred orgy is fabulous, but it's only fabulous if you're using it in the right way. But people will take advantage of it and twist it. They will turn it. So, for instance, the beautiful charge of the goddess that has a lovely rhythm to it. In actual fact, if you really look at it, there are some really controlling sentences in it. For instance, you shall be naked in your rights as a sign that you be truly free. Does being naked in your rights make you truly free? I'm not there. Don't give you free will, be naked or not. But when it's imposed on you, then it's an imposition and it's a control. In fact, there are lots of things in the craft that are controlling, and as Alexandrians, we try to get rid of that. We recognise one of the best teachers in the world is the mistake. The other one is ego. We should all experience it, you know, and really put our foot in it and really get burnt by it, because then it stops us being egotistical and think about the core, the magic of the craft. Just because you're a high priestess doesn't mean to say you can boss people around. And just because you're the servant of the circle doesn't mean to say you can emotionally blackmail your priestess. The circle is only as strong as the weakest link in it, but that weak link is there by their own free will, not coerced and not fascinated into the craft. You know, nowadays there seems to be this great big, ooh, we've got to have the biggest coven in the world. Let's go out there and seek converts. We're not allowed to. And I think the reason we're not allowed to is that those who are initiated have a vocation, and they also have something quite different. They're not normal. They have this spark that is magical. It's an essence of the unknowable. It's practicable, but it's not knowable. Not everybody has it. In the craft, we're priesthood. Not everybody is capable of working the magic. They're just not. And people are being initiated into the craft that really shouldn't be. And it does them damage. They're not ready for it. You know, they think they are because they've been and they've seen, you know, the brilliant speaker talks about the craft in such a loving way. I mean, sometimes the craft is tough, but we don't need to make it any tougher by threefold threats.